everyone, and welcome to It's a Legit Metaphysical World. I am your host this evening, Auntie Dale, and I hope you all are having a fabulous week. The energy feels very positive lately, and it's giving me a lot of energy, which is a good thing right now. Tonight, we're going to do things a little different. We are going to have a guest on, but I am also bringing in a fabulous co-host for this evening, and I'm very excited about bringing him in. So, if let's surprise everyone, and if my co-host could be joined with me right now, hopefully he's pink. No, it is not a can of beer. It is my lovely nephew, Mr. Buddy Thayer, the one and only.
Good evening, my lovely and most favorite Auntie Dale. How are you doing this evening?
I am also your only auntie, but I'll take it.
At this juncture, yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
It's a beautiful evening. It's a lovely pleasure to be. I popped my head into this broadcast before, but I've never actually been a sitting co-host on the
Yes,
show. So
yes.
that's quite wonderful. And any
It is
chance
quite
I
an honor. You're my first co-host in this show.
oh, look at that! Look at that! Just another week, I can present another lovely beer. Treehouse Brewing was very green. They do a very good job. They brewed right up there in Charlton, Massachusetts. If you happen to be in Mass, because it's the only place you're going to find this stuff, run out and grab yourself a case of very green. Oh, that's all I have to say. I'm sorry.
Okay. So tonight, my guest is Neil. I'm sorry, Farley. I want to get his name right. He is a demonologist and he is also a spiritual advisor. So let's bring him right in. Good evening, Neil. How are you?
I'm very good. How is everybody tonight?
We are
Awesome.
fabulous.
That's
Welcome
great.
to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, for the people that are watching our show and they may not know exactly, what you do, could you briefly
hmm
explain to them what a spiritual advisor is? Let's start with spiritual advice. Let's start with that first, and
That's
then
an
we'll
easy
get to the
one.
demonology.
Okay. People who are in spiritual trouble or people who are spiritually lost may come and ask advice in how to handle the loss of a loved one or to get in contact with a loved one or to help them with negative and positive spiritual activity in their home.
Hmm.
So, is it similar to being a medium and you being able to contact the other side to help them when they're in their grief?
It's more of a guidance on teaching on helping them to make contact with their loved one.
Mhm.
Um,
Okay.
just pretending or not pretending, but um, creating an atmosphere, a relationship, as similar to you would as a personal relationship with Christ or God or any other faith that you may have.
Hmm.
That when a loved one passes, is to continue that relationship because they are around and they are listening. And even though they may not respond like the way that you want to, they will get the message. And you can make
Mhm.
yourself feel pretty good by just letting out your emotions.
True, true. Now,
I,
for
uh, I actually have to go ahead and agree with you. I've had my own experiences. My wife passed away 4 years, Neil, and throughout the 4 years, there's been times in my life where I just felt like really down, like I really needed a sign, and I said, Heather, give me a sign now. I need something now, and either within that day or within that week, or sometimes it's like 3 or 4 times in that week,
Right.
I get the signs that I asked for. So I tell everybody that knew Heather, everybody that knows me, like just talk to her. She's out there. She doesn't have to. You
Right.
shouldn't have to be like knocking shit over on a table to tell you she's there. She'll come to you in dreams. She'll come to you on your cell phone. All the various ways that she'll send a sign. So absolutely, I totally agree with that. Just talk to them. They're definitely
Yeah.
around.
Yeah, it's so easy to do, and it's so rewarding
Hmm.
in itself, therapeutically and spiritually. Um,
yes.
so I highly recommend it. They're gone, but they're not lost.
And
Hmm.
how long have you been doing that type of work, Neil?
Well, I've been able to hear, see, and speak to spirits since pretty much birth. I remembered from the age of 3 on because the experience was not pleasant. I was pretty much tortured as a child by spirits, simply because of the fact I could see them. And not knowing, I was born in 1950, so wasn't a whole lot going. Matter of fact, a lot of the places that you go and visit today are places where people admitted that they were hearing voices, and um, they were put institutionalized,
Yeah.
and all types of medical experiments were done on lobotomies, and all that stuff were done in the 50s.
For sure.
True.
So I kind of kept it. My grandmother was very helpful. She was a fortune teller back in those days. They told them fortune tellers, and she helped me spiritually to just not say anything, just to keep it to myself, and talk to her about it, which was very helpful because
So
I had somebody I could speak to about it.
Hmm.
And she taught me how to create the light and help people pass over to the other side. And it was something that I did as a child, but I didn't have the tools or the maturity or any other stuff to deal with it. So I didn't do very well with it, and as a result, I got pretty beat up over it over the years. So
So, do you think when you say you were tortured as a young child, was it because you were so young and didn't really know what was going on that you felt like you were tortured, or was it actually like evil spirits that were trying to contact you when you were so young?
no, my mother would take me because my body would have these red marks all over, and they were pinches
Hmm.
where they would pinch me, and they were all
Wow.
over my back and my neck and my arms. And and the doctor would say they were hives. Well, it's February. It's not. There's no hives in February.
Right.
Not sweating. They back in those days they just put little boys and girls all in nightgowns. So really wasn't much. Your diaper and your nightgown. That's pretty much it. And
Yeah.
my body was just peppered with pinch marks all over it. Um,
Wow.
and I would scream all night long because being pinched all night long.
Yeah.
And then as I got older, it got more brutal. It was pushing me off of steps and pushed me down hills, slapped me, scratched me,
Hmm.
all those things. Then I had a brother that was 6 years older who tormented me because he was 6 years older. So it was kind of a rough time, growing
Yeah.
up.
I believe it.
Um, so, and then as the paranormal, I managed to learn how to block them out. Is what I ended up doing. I just
Yeah.
ended up just blocking them out of my mind. Just
Yeah.
like just tell myself over and over, you're not there, you don't exist, you're not there. But that was difficult, to do.
Hmm.
Um,
Did
and
that keep them away when you told them you're not there? Like,
yeah, it took time. It took a long time though to be able to develop your brain so that you can put up those blinders and just
Hmm.
you're not there,
yeah.
and just
Yeah.
just to move on. I mean, they're all looking for action reaction. In most spiritual situations, there's an action and then it's your reaction that they're
Right.
looking
Hmm.
for. If you
Hmm.
never react, they stop. They lose interest.
Right.
Okay. All right.
So, so then as we went into the internet and paranormal became one of the topics on the internet, it became a little easier to talk about it and share thoughts and ideas,
Yeah.
which
And
Hmm.
not
we all
feel
do
like you're
now.
all alone, right? Not feel like it's just you going through this, being tortured.
Exactly.
There's a whole field out there of people experiencing similar things to you.
Yes.
That
And
must have been tremendous for you to find that kind of acceptance somewhere.
yes. And things got real bad though. I was trying to, use the EVPs and stuff. Even though I could hear
Hmm.
them, I wanted other people to hear what I was hearing.
Right. Validate.
And I just didn't do very well. I got in arguments with them, and the name calling and the foul language and all that other stuff that came off on the EVPs. It just was not going really well. And then we started having some disturbances in the house when I was gone. I'd be gone for work for a few days and come back. My wife would be in complete trauma. Toys coming on,
Hmm.
and just terrible odors and flies and the whole 9 yards.
Wow.
And I reached a point where just said, God, if I can't protect my family, I'll leave them and send them money. I just will not live with them.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
and I just asked God for help. What can I do? What can I do for you? Or what can we do? And He opened up. Um, he showed me how to communicate with spirits in a way that wasn't upsetting to me or to them. I had some help with Archangel Gabriel, Archangel Michael, Archangel Raphael, to help guide me. And it took about a year for it to stick through my thick skull.
Mm-hmm.
And I started off creating a once a week rescue event where I would
Rescue
invite,
event?
yes, where I would invite any spirits who wish to cross over to come to me, and I would help them cross over. Well, it didn't take long. A couple neighbors showed up. Then they started telling people, and they started telling people, and next thing they're telling people, and before I know it, I've got a room full of spirits. I mean, just absolutely jam packed, and it just exploded, and it went on for 8.5 years. And for those 8.5 years, I took footage, I took videos of each event. They ran from like 1 o'clock in the morning till 3 o'clock in the morning every Sunday night for 7.5 years, and I videotaped all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the images that I post are from those videotapes.
I was just going to ask you, so what kind of things did you catch on the videotapes?
Oh, I catch from events, from actual battles of people where there's several people in certain types of events that happened in the past. I get individual image, full body apparitions, a lot of heads, a lot of torsos, a lot of heads, a lot
Really?
of children, a lot of children. I get a lot of children. I've
Yeah.
gotten celebrities, movie stars. I have a website called Celebrity Ghosts and More that has over 300 celebrities that we captured at these events.
Really?
I put over probably close to 300,000 images of spirits
Wow.
that I've captured over the past 10 years that I've been on Facebook.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. That's amazing.
So some of them are, when I first started out, they were blobs. People go, well, I see a blob,
Right.
and and I'm barely making out the faces and the things, but I'm seeing them in the images. And so I put up with the torment of posting blobs and having to take all the negativity for that. But they got better, and they've gotten better over the years, and I can't explain that. I can't explain why they went from blobs to actual really great images.
Well, could it be because you personally, your own skills have increased over the years, the more you've done it, so their images are getting clearer because your powers, for lack of a better word, are getting stronger?
Yeah, that and graphics, technical graphics have gotten better. We have sharper computers now than we did then.
True.
I did use a good camera. I did use a high-speed professional camera. So I got some help with Archangel Gabriel. She told me how to use ultraviolet light. I used Christmas lights. I strung up some Christmas lights, which I thought was really kind of silly. But anyway, I put it out, and I put the ultraviolet lights, and all of a sudden, I'm instead of black and white images of spirit, I'm getting full body tones, full flesh tones
Wow.
that actually match. So, and I guess if you remember back in the old Sony days, they used to use these Sony 8mm type of cameras that only did black and white. So you were stuck with black and white everything. So it was really interesting to actually bring color into the images. So we've all grown. It's not just me, but everything has grown. Everything's gotten better.
Yeah.
ITC is incredible. The things that they do with water and static on televisions and stuff like that. They're pulling images from all types of different directions now.
So since you've started doing this and helping them cross over, has the activity in your house got less? Has it got less aggressive now that you found a way to kind of help them cross over? And is that what they were trying to do originally? Get your attention to help them cross over?
Yeah, there's a big demand to cross over. The earthbound realm is like the space between heaven and earth. And it's not a pleasant place. It's filled with people just like us, good people and bad people. And I don't know how we got separated that ghosts or spirits are something different than we are, because they're not. They are us. And
Mm-hmm.
there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. They are us. They're the good part of us and the bad part of us.
Well, yeah,
And
they're our personality, just like here.
yeah,
They just
and
don't have a body.
they're
Absolutely.
desperate. They are desperate to get back with their loved ones in heaven, or wherever you want to call it. If you want to call it Shangri-La, or you want to call, whatever you want to call it. I'm not one to pinpoint that it's heaven. It may be an extraterrestrial planet that we go to. I don't know. But
We don't know
my
until
point
we
of
go
it
so
is
long.
that they're all anxious to get out of the earthbound realm and go there. Um, so it's pleasurable to help them, and they come to me. I've never really seeked spirits. They've always found me, and it got so bad that I couldn't make eye contact. If I'm out in a restaurant or somewhere and I see a spirit walking around, I can't even look at them, because if I make eye contact, they immediately know that I can
They know
see
you
them.
see them. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And then they just hound me. Can you help me cross over? Can you help my brother cross? Can you help my uncle cross? And it doesn't stop, because there's such a demand. And
Yeah.
what's sad about it is that we're all capable of crossing over spirits. Every one of us. It's not that
Yeah.
difficult.
I believe that. Yeah.
Right.
But we haven't organized ourselves enough that enough of us can do it and just help everybody.
Yeah.
And a lot of the hauntings would just absolutely disappear.
You
Because
know,
Yeah.
I gotta ask. I got a few questions rattling around in my head, but one of the first ones, one of the big topics of conversations on the other show is so people like yourself who have the ability to cross spirits over. Okay, you saying they come to you. People like yourself went to places like one of them is the Penhurst Asylum, or the former Penhurst Asylum. I think is that West Virginia? Is that Pennsylvania
right.
or
Yeah.
that area? There's an area where children's voices are prevalent. A lot of kids lived and died in that unit. Why? Why? And they profit off of this. This is they sell tickets to and have events, and I get it. You want to preserve the building, but ultimately they're profiting from the suffering of children who died in this institution.
Exactly.
So the thought of one of my co-hosts is, why don't people like yourself all get in a bus and go to these places and cross all these
I
children
won't
over?
go to
They're
them.
all innocent.
I won't go to them. I was on a TV show called Ghost Finders. I don't know if you've heard of them. They're on Roku. They're
Yes,
also
I
on,
have. Yeah.
yeah, and they wanted to go there, and I refused to go
Hmm.
because of that exact same reason that you're Jim, to profit off of other people's pain and suffering. We
Right.
don't profit off of watching somebody's house burn down, um, so that the arsonist can go to jail and write a story about how he burnt people's houses down and make it a bestseller.
Right.
You know,
Yes.
the flame. It's just wrong. It's just really wrong. I offered Penhurst to cleanse
Mhm.
the entire place, which I've done large cleansings like that before, and I
Mhm.
offered to go there and help cross over anybody that wanted to cross over, and they didn't want any part of it.
Right.
Really?
They would lose their money. Right. They would lose
Right?
their attraction.
Absolutely, they would lose. Yeah, it would
Well,
quiet
that's so
down,
sad.
and they're not interested. They'll tell you that they're doing this, and they've made a game room and a toy room and all these other things to accommodate the spirits, but their absolutely goal is money.
Yeah.
And
And
if the spirits are trapped here, they're not helping them, keeping
no,
them trapped here.
and they're not the only ones. It doesn't stop there. It goes on with the big TV shows. I was like I said, I helped do the. Me and a friend of mine, we cleansed the demon house in Enfield, Connecticut. Um,
Yes, I just became familiar with that place. That sounds
yes,
interesting. Yes.
and we worked with the Yaples, the family that lived there, and was able to cleanse it. Um, but the stories that they told me of the people that they had come in, all the way from planning objects out to find and say that they were part of the paranormal investigation, to
Hmm.
just downright lying. Uh,
Right.
because they're so these shows are so heavily driven by sponsors,
Of
Yeah.
course.
and
And
it's
network and like sci-fi, for example. I don't like to call them out because God knows who's watching the show, right? But I knew a team of ghost people that were from the state of Rhode Island, where where we're coming from, and they have openly admitted on several occasions to like falsifying emotions and filming emotions before
Right.
going into an investigation. So if they tell me that happened, what else are they not telling me that actually happened? And
Yeah.
like how much, like a lot of people that broke into this field around the same time I did so because they were big fans of the show and they wanted to have these same experiences. What do you like? And what happens on these shows is nothing what it's like being an investigator.
No,
No.
it's
It's not
not.
nearly as
Nothing.
fun. Not nearly as fun.
No. No.
Or on that like little bit of a moment. If you look at it across the whole spin, it's like, oh, wow, that was really cool. But it's never like all solved in like one 30-minute segment on a TV
No.
show. It's just it's unrealistic. And for them to say
Yeah.
stuff like that just goes to prove that these networks are just out for a buck and that they're not trying to.
Yeah. I think they would be a lot smarter if they went out to individual paranormal groups and said, "What's your best footage?" And we'll just
You
going to
don't
show your
say.
best footage, and then go to someone else and say, "Well, what is your best footage?
Yeah.
What's your best find?"
Yeah.
And eliminate all the drama, eliminate all of the all that. We have to meet these sponsors. These sponsors want evidence. They want people to watch this show. If you
Yeah.
can't come up with
Right.
any evidence, it's boring. They're not going to want it. They're not going to come back. They're not going to buy our shoes and socks and
Yep.
whatever else. And
Yep.
they're not interested in it. So that puts
No.
pressure on these paranormal groups to create paranormal
Right.
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
satisfy the sponsors' needs.
Yeah. They're
And-
not.
We
They're
have
not
a show here on
interested.
Thursday. I'm sorry, go ahead on Deb.
They're not interested in expanding the field.
No.
I mean, that's the real reason I joined Buddy. You know, we're in the same paranormal group. I joined his because I want to expand the field. That's why I want to do the show, because I want to expand the field, you know?
Right.
And these shows, they hurt the field.
No,
make
they want to
it
expand the
all
knowledge.
look like fakes. You know what I mean? So then when we say something, very few people believe us. Oh, that's all fake. Well, no, there is some, but our stuff isn't. You know what I mean?
Right.
It gets
Exactly.
so frustrating.
Yeah, and one of the other things is that people are don't seem to understand is that, and I just did a whole post on this recently, and that's about your relationship with the spirits themselves, creating an atmosphere and a relationship. You know that our entire lives are based on building relationships with your boyfriend, your girlfriend, eventually your husband, your wife, your family, your children. It's all about building relationships.
Mhm.
And a lot of people will think, well, I'm going to go to this place, and then we're going to go to this place, and we're going to go to this place, and we're going to go to this place, and this place. And you're bouncing around trying to, because you heard that this place was really very active. So you're bouncing around trying to find the best place. And the truth of the matter is if you find a place that's active, you stay there. You work on your relationship with the spirits that are there. If you want real footage, if you want real action, then you have to build that action through relationship.
Yes.
Not
That
going to
is
do it
Buddy's
from
philosophy.
one place to another place to another place.
Love it.
How many times have we done that special place that you and I are both thinking of, Buddy? We've done it like 4 or 5 times. And
4 or 5 times, and I will continue to go there and investigate. And I believe there are certain particular spirits that I could potentially identify from this place, and others that I can't. And they honestly, I've been in this building multiple other times not to investigate, just been in there doing other volunteer work and whatnot, and have had experiences. So it's cool that you say that, because it seems like the more I'm there, the more comfortable they are, and the more experiences I have had.
yeah,
Absolutely. Because it's like you're asking a stranger to open up to you.
Mm-hmm.
That's a
You're not
very
going to go
valid point.
anywhere.
That
You're not
is.
going to go travel to Canada and walk into a restaurant and say, "Hello, everybody, I'm your buddy," and expect to get. It takes time. You got to go to that place 4 or 5 months and sit down and drink some beer, get to know the people before you can say that kind of stuff. And it's no different with the spirits. It's absolutely no different with it. And I promise you that if you do this, you will, and you can ask the questions. You can get the EVP answers that you're searching for, because they're willing to tell you. They're not going to tell some stranger that walks in one time in their entire life that they, traveled 300 miles to go to some haunted castle somewhere. They're not going to open up to you. They're just not going to happen.
Right. We had an investigation very recently, probably a couple months. Actually, I about a month ago, I shared with them the evidence the data that we collected, whatever you want to call it. And it seems like we went there twice. The first night, while people had experiences, they didn't seem, well, some of them were direct, but others, it wasn't so direct. It was just kind of like whatever. But the second night, it was like, holy shit,
Right.
difference.
Yeah.
They were very reactive. They were very engaged.
Right.
A ton of audio. Just like some really good, clear stuff that made sense. Even the stuff that didn't make sense to me when I played it for our clients, it
Mhm.
completely made sense to them. And when they told me how it did it, it completely blew my mind. You know, it's just like, wow, that's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, I created like a whole event for them. It started off with our opening song, which was a Bruce Springsteen song called "Spirits of the Night," and that was our opening song, and it would just get everybody riled up. And then I would have my sermon, or whatever I was going to talk about. I would bring that up, and then we had a thing we called "Stupid Jokes," where I just pulled jokes off the internet. I put out potato chips and bottles of water, of glasses of water, and things like that. Not because I knew they were going to eat them, but I wanted to treat them as I would any guest that came into my home. So I put out the things that I would put out for guests, and I ate most of it, but there you go. But my point is that I treated them like they were guests, like I would treat anyone that I welcomed into my home. And I
you
I
know
don't
what?
love
think
that
spirits do
idea.
that.
That's
That is
great.
so cool. I love that idea. Now, does your wife participate in some
No,
of this?
no.
No.
she's she's totally freaked out when my house started going upside down and the toys started coming on and all that stuff. She was like, just, and I had a rule that said that you cannot go upstairs. You have to stay on this one level. And
Okay. Yeah.
so
So she
so
wouldn't be freaked out.
yeah,
Mhm.
so we kept that nice and clear. But I every night we had I had a lot of music. There's a lot of dancing, a lot of celebrating, and then at the end of the evening I would cross them over into the light. um, and it was of their own free will. Nobody did anything that they didn't want to do. We had people that came back week after week after week that would never cross over. They just felt like
Really?
their sins were just too bad, that they weren't worthy or whatever. For whatever reason, I have I have a million and one reasons why they felt that their sins were so bad that they couldn't cross over. But they enjoyed themselves and they came anyway. I had good spirits, bad spirits, demons, maybe even aliens. I have no idea who showed up. I would see the faces and I would see them, and I would see them grow, to where you could not see the end of them. And they that happened during the millennium. They were all freaking out that it was going to be the end of the world, and who's going to save us if you're gone?
Hmm.
We're going to be stuck on this destitute planet, and nobody's going to be able to save us. All the living people will die, and so they were freaking out. So they showed up in large numbers, massive, hundreds of thousands at a time. I talked to a lady that was in the back. So she had cancer and she passed away, and she wanted to stay with her husband. So she asked if she could stay back with her husband. And I told her, well, I said it's not a really good idea, but um, I'll, I do this event every week. So this week you can spend with your husband. Next week you need to try to cross over if you would like to.
Hmm.
And I got a message from her that there was a demon that had gone into her house because I had made the mistake of actually picking out a song that was their song, and I picked out their song and I dedicated to the lady in the back and her husband. And next thing I know is that she's yelling that there's this black thing in her closet, and she's screaming and hollering and carrying on. And eventually, I had to go there and get the things out of her closet, which were dark spirits that had entered into her closet, and she's dead. I mean, this woman had been dead for a week, and her voice came to me, and I had to go look it up in the obituary when she started talking to me at first to verify that the voice that I heard was, because I didn't know she was dead when she called me, when she
Wow.
started speaking to me. She just
Wow.
started speaking to me, and I had to go on the internet to make sure that that she was who she said she was, because there's a lot of lying going on in the spirit world. So you can't trust someone saying who they are. You have to verify.
Wow.
So how did you become a demonologist? Is this part of the process when you were helping people cross over? How did that happen?
Because of the spiritual warfare that I've been through for most of my life, being on the side of torture, being on the side where people are so overwhelmed by negative spirits that they're possessed, and being able to communicate with them, and saying that, oh well, I understand. No, saying I really do understand because I've been where you've been. I've had the crap scared out of me. I've wet my bed at night from fear of even getting up to go to the bathroom.
Wow.
I've been there. So, and then I had a lot of help from Archangel Michael. And what I do is I've done over close to 300 house blessings in over 36 countries, and I've done them remotely. I've done them all remotely. Just about 90% of my work is done remotely, with about a 98% success rate of actually removing the demons out of people's houses over the phone.
Wow.
I've got lots of letters and recommendations from people stating the spiritual activity that happened while their house was being cleansed. And I don't cleanse the house. I'm not your traditional. I'm Methodist. I'm not Catholic, so I do not follow the Catholic method for exorcisms.
Yeah.
I do not use Jesus Christ as my tool. We walk into a place, we prepare the outer surroundings by calling upon God's angels to surround the place. I go through, when I first go into a home, I mark all the doorways and the entrances with the blessed cross of Christ, in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, to bless each doorway. That's to make sure that once Michael and I enter the home, that we prepare it for God's cleansing. It's God who cleanses the house. We do not cleanse it. We are only prepared for God himself. We've reached the level to the point where I have several prayers, the cleansing prayers that I go through, Michael goes through. We cover every room, every bedroom, every bathroom. We go through the entire house, preparing it. And then we give basically the evil spirit an ultimatum. You either leave or you're gone. And they know that they can be vanished, and I mean literally turned into powder. And we've done it not too many times, because you only have to do something a few times before they realize you can do it. And once they realize that you can turn them into powder, that's the end of it. They pretty much move out. The smaller demons, they're all a bunch of little cowards, little rats, and all kinds of crazy creatures. We went to a house that was severely haunted. And as soon as I drove up, I could see the little demons just running out of them, running up the mountainside,
Wow.
scattering to get out of the way. I put my trust and faith that God does this. And as a result, 360 some house blessings in 36 countries, with a 98% success rate, says God must be doing something. Or somebody's doing something.
Someone's doing something right. Yeah.
Right.
Have
And
you ever been afraid, Dale, that one of the demons that you're trying to exercise, or whatever word you want to use, might attach to you as you're doing that?
no.
That would make me. That's demons make. I love doing investigations. I'm intuitive. I believe spirit is around us all the time. I believe all that stuff. But demons scare me. They always have.
Yes. The thing of it is that I have no fear. Absolutely zero fear. When you spend your first 50 years of your life being tortured, you either get a thick skin or you die.
That is true.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Right. Right.
That's pretty much about it. And I've learned that I've learned that if I say a certain prayer that I say, that it's the end of them, and they know it's the end of them. In most cases, I will not talk to them. I do never communicate with demons ever.
You don't?
No, absolutely not. No words whatsoever. We go in, we do prepare the place for God's, and then we call upon God to cleanse the home. And it's up
Okay.
to them. They can either fight God or leave. So, and they don't want to fight God. Trust me, they do not want to fight God.
Yeah.
So they leave, and then a lot of it is preparation for the family, because a lot of it is fed by negativity, and that could be a dysfunctional family, that could be drugs, that could be all kinds of problems, alcohol problems in the family, social problems, economic problems, all types of things. But they
That
have
can bring the demons in, you mean?
yeah.
That type of
If
stuff?
you've got negative energy in your house, the last thing you want to be is negative, because they feed off of it. That's the energy that they get. And if you're
Yeah.
screaming and hollering at each other, your abusive husband, or or whatever the circumstance is, they feed off of it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay. I understand that.
you have to decide: do I want a peaceful house? Do I want a normal family functioning relationship with my family?
Yeah.
Because if you don't, this thing is ready to serve. And in most cases, once you get them out, as long as you don't invite them back in by being buttheads, they're not coming back. There's
Yeah.
somebody down the street. There's always somebody down the street who's got more problems than you.
Yeah.
And they'll move on. They'll move on. But it needs to be understood, though. But before I even start, that you've got to work on changing the negativity. In
Yeah.
most cases,
Yeah.
when we do homes, we find that the next day after we've done the house blessing and cleansing, that everybody is absolutely exhausted. I tell them that if we do this on a weekend, don't expect your kids to go to school on Monday, because they're going to be too tired.
Yeah.
Paranormal hangovers.
Yeah, and it just like, it's almost like jet lag. It comes off of them, and they're just, you can just feel the difference. The
Yeah.
room, the house lightens up. All of a sudden, there's more light coming through the windows than there was ever coming before.
Yeah.
Everything brightens up. Just the stress, the anxiety
Yeah.
level has just completely just vanished, and all you feel is exhaustion.
Yeah. Yeah. Buddy, do you have a question?
I do. So, Neil, one of the most contemporary arguments amongst paranormal investigators today, I feel, is that now I've had this experience many times. I have it on recording and in different locations that when we experience a child as a spirit, that this voice that comes through, or whatever, or some people see a child, that this child isn't at all a child, that this is a demon trying to trick us, and that all children's spirits out there are actually demons. Can you shed any light on this? Is it true
There,
that all children and dogs go to heaven, or is there something?
all I can say is that the afterlife is a mirror of our lives, and there's
Mhm.
good people, and there's bad people, and there's
Right.
evil people,
Yes.
and there are possessed people.
Right. Okay.
Okay, and they're no different on that other side.
Okay.
So when somebody comes to you and they say, "Well, I've got this fantastic vacuum cleaner that I want you to buy for $4,000," and you're going like, "That's crazy! I wouldn't buy it." But I guarantee you, this thing will last you for, you'll never buy another vacuum cleaner. You have a choice if you want to believe that or not. And then you get the thing, a month later, it's like on fire and blowing smoke out of the back of it. There are people who will lie to you. There are
Right.
people who will trick you.
Right.
You have to also understand remember, we just talked about the level of desperation to cross over. I will say and do anything if you'll help me. Whatever I got to say, whatever I got to do, if you can cross me over, I'll say whatever I need to say. I'll say I was a colonel in the army, or whatever,
Right.
or I was a politician, and you worked in a 7-Eleven or something. My point is that they will lie. People lie to you. They're people.
Yes, I say that all the time. People will say, "Oh, they like ask about demons?" I'm like, I don't deal with demons so much, but I can tell you that people are like people. If someone's an asshole while they're alive, they're going to be an asshole when they die.
Exactly.
Hence, I have this
Yeah.
coined phrase: the asshole ghost is a
Right.
real thing. It's not always just like a demon. Just
Right.
because it pushes you or cuts you doesn't mean it's a demon. It could just be an asshole.
Right.
Right.
And what is the best way for an asshole spirit to give extra power than to tell you he's a demon?
Right.
True.
You
Do
know,
they feed off that fear? Do they feed off our energy?
right, to use everything that the demon uses against you.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day you run into the real demon, and then you really know
Right.
what they can or cannot do. My point of it is that don't get into negative conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because that's the first path they're going to take you down, is a negative conversation. If you sense that the conversation is going down into the toilet, chances are you do not want to continue that conversation. Your basic goal when you go out on a paranormal investigation is to build a relationship, is to build understanding. So when you have that relationship and that person feels free to speak to you, you can ask the proper questions that we need to ask. We're not asking the right questions. We're not asking how do you manifest? How do you where do you get your energy from?
Yes.
How are you able to speak to me? How am I able to see you? What are your attempts to communicate with us?
Nice.
These are questions, not, well, how many fingers am I holding up? Or can you give me a sign? I mean, if I went into a bar and you walked up to a bunch of people and you said, "Can someone here give me a sign?" What would they say to you? There's your
Here's your
sign.
sign. Yeah,
There's
there you
your
go.
Yeah,
sign.
right.
So my point, I guess my point is this: just we need to treat this on a human level. And if we do that and we stop separating it as a ghost spiritual, I think we'll make a lot better pathway into understanding the spiritual world.
I love that philosophy, Neil. I really do. That's just a so different way of learning how to talk to the other side. Is just understanding there's still people without bodies and we can just
Right.
communicate with them like we always have, and
Mhm.
and I think you're right. I think when we do some investigations, we kind of separate ourselves, not willingly, but we separate ourselves just by the way
Right.
we talk to them.
Yeah, you're pulling out a box that has all these different colors, and then you got another, then you got a recorder, and then you got this crazy machine that's making all kinds of signals going. I
Yeah,
guarantee you, if you went to a stranger's house and you pulled out all that equipment on the table, they would boot you out the door in probably less than 15 minutes. Like, what are you crazy people doing to me?
yeah. No, you're
They're
right.
so different. They don't want to, that's fine. You can bring that stuff out and say, well, I have this device. Once you get to know them, I have a device that I use that helps me to communicate. Would you
Yeah.
be willing to talk to me? But that's down the road. You don't go to somebody's house and stick a recorder in front of their face and say, okay, talk to me.
Right.
Give me a sign. There you go.
So, with all your investigations and all your experiences you have had, Neil, can you tell us one that really like blew your mind? Really was like, whoa, this is like at the top of the list of all the experiences I have had.
Nice.
Well, there's several of them. There's a lot of them on the top. I'll just pick one. We went to in Harper's Ferry, West Virginia.
Nice.
Is the Booth Cottage, Wilkes Booth. It was a cottage that his family would go visit to, and it's called the Haunted Cottage. And they have a whole paranormal thing that goes over. The guy's name is Dennis, and so we got there, and my daughter had given it to me as a gift, a ghost tour, as a gift, a birthday present. So I got out there, and I promised Dennis that I would not cross over any of his spirits. That was one of the things I had to promise when I went there, is that I wouldn't cross over anybody. And I can't do it anyway. I'm not allowed to cross over anybody without permission from the homeowner. So I couldn't do it if I wanted to. But anyway, we had gone down into the basement, and it was a place where they chained slaves down in they actually had the rivets in the ground where they chained into this room. And I walked into this pathway, and I walked right into a spirit. one of the
Mm.
slaves, and all of a sudden everybody could smell this body odor, and I could taste it. That's how bad it was. It was absolutely. I was in a doorway, and he walked right through me,
Oh, I
and
know what that feels like. Oof.
all of a
Man.
sudden my body got like clammy and sweaty, and you could smell the perspiration. And I swear I wasn't really stinky that day. That was one of my stinky days. so so that completely freaked me out because I never had a spirit actually go through me,
Go right through you.
where I could actually smell them and taste them and
Ooh.
and feel them. So
Wow.
that freaked me out. And that wasn't. There were like several things that happened that at that place that night that other people had experienced, things of that nature. So it was kind of cool that it all went together. I got some great images of I can't think of the name of the guy that tried to take over that town during the Civil War. Can't remember what his name was, but anyway, I got a picture of him in the window. And that was a pretty exciting time.
Union, Confederate.
What did you say, Bud?
Is it Union, Confederate?
Yeah, he tried to take over. He tried to free the slaves or something, and got in trouble for it. And I can't think of the guy.
Oh, John Brown. That was that was the
John Brown.
1857. Yeah, that was a big
Yeah,
thing. He wanted to free the slaves. No, he wanted to raid the arsenal, get all the weapons, start freeing slaves in the plantations of Virginia, and just start marching south with an ever-growing army to take over and liberate the South.
right.
People thought he was a little insane, and he probably was, but he hung
Yeah,
for his
yeah.
crimes
So I got
and
a big
was one
picture
of
of his
the
face
catalysts for
on
the
the
Civil
window.
War. Yeah,
So that I captured that same night. So,
that's
but
awesome.
that's one. A lot of mine weren't very nice. So they're not really great memories. So.
Now, you said earlier you have a website where your evidence is on.
Yeah, I'm on Facebook, and there's a link for my Facebook page. So if you go on that, you'll pretty much find everything that's there.
Okay.
So, but I have several of the pictures that I have are on there.
Nice.
So, but what I found is that for some reason, um, what I figured out is that there's a part in the Bible in Genesis in the very beginning that God created us out of dust.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the images that I have are from orbs. And you know the old story that the orbs are just dust, and they're absolutely right. Orbs are dust. And the thing of it is that science.com, National Geographic have all discovered that our bodies are made of dust. That are basic chemicals that are our body are that match that of dirt and dust.
Oh boy.
And they have proven that. And there's thousands of pounds of stardust falls on this planet. Millions and billions of pounds of dust fall on this planet. And in dust is everything. All of the basic elements of a human being are found in dust. Science has proven this. They've documented it. And scripture kind of goes with it. If you go into in the beginning of Genesis, where it says God's nostril, he created man through dust. So I've been able to make that comparison. And I don't think dust is the only object, because the basic elements of dust, of water, of fire, are you see people taking videos of spirits through all of those, through water, through dust, through fire, where people have taken and managed to get images. A lot out of water. If you see this ITC, if you've seen any of it,
No.
it's pretty amazing.
Have you seen that, buddy?
Well, I'm sorry. What is it?
It's called ITC. It's intertrans.
Oh yeah. I'm familiar with that. Yeah.
Yeah. They basically, you just take a dark pan and you fill it with water, and then you just put a camera over top of it, and then you can
Really?
also do it with vape. You can do vapors.
Yeah.
You can blow
I've
vape
never
smoke.
seen that.
Vaporizers.
We had a guest a few weeks ago on. We do a clip show, and we had a guest 2 weeks on a clip show who was explaining this whole process and showed photographs, and it was the silhouette of a man's face. It was from a Civil War place in like Kentucky or like Illinois, and it was like a man's face. You see the nose, you saw the like the chin, the beard, and it was like a black silhouette, but it was in this like pitcher of water, and I was like,
Really?
what is that? And then now you're talking about it, so it's definitely something. Yeah, it was really cool. The
I
evidence.
saw a guy that had pictures of 3 perfect faces from a vaporizer.
Wow.
That showed up. I mean, absolutely detail. I mean, and now they're doing the what's the new not ITC, you know, where they can digitally reprocess it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so what they do is you can take your picture that
Mm-hmm.
almost looks perfect and then have it ITC, whatever they call it, digitally redone.
Right. Right. It's like invert the colors so it would like present a different like there was like a black splotch or something that would like become a white splotch and then
Right.
it was more noticeable. Yeah.
And one thing I've learned is that if one thing about demons, if you've captured something, you feel like there's demonic forces. Demons could what do I want to use? A demon's condensity is different than regular spirits. They have a grayish black, almost like a cotton perforated um what's the
Like
word?
shadow. Like a shadow.
But fabric to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And they look different. They look totally different. They're dark. They're like I said, they're puffy,
Mm-hmm.
always gray and black. You very seldom ever see color out of a demon.
And their energy must feel different. It must feel heavy, right? When you're around something like
Right.
that.
It almost looks like rain clouds. They're puffy and they're separated like cotton. Like imagine almost like cotton.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that are winged, their wings are always dark. Their horns or their ears are always dark. There's some that fly, there's some that don't fly. But you can sense them. I've been able to sense dark demonic forces since I was a little kid because as soon as they would get near me, I would sense that they were. And
There've been investigators, Neil, who have talked about like capturing photos or seeing these entities, and they're always sometimes they show up as people with like a distorted side of their face or a missing arm. Is that something that you've experienced?
yeah, but that's more or less of the manifestation process going on. You got to understand is that and particularly in orbs are rotating at an absolutely ridiculous amount of speed, almost the speed of light.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I was able to capture so many of these is because I used a high-speed video camera. I never used a still camera. I always used a high-speed video camera. So any anomalies that I would find, I would clip those, and then I put them in a file. So it didn't matter what the anomaly was. If it was a smoke or an orb or whatever the anomaly was, I would clip it, and then I studied those anomalies. That's how I got all my pictures from. I got them from video. But because the camera worked at 120 frames per second, you're able to capture that movement. And in most of the spirit images that I capture are within 1 or 2 seconds. So that's really, really fast. That's why most people can't capture spirits with regular cameras. Get yourself a high-speed video camera and start looking for anomalies, anything. Look at those dark corners down underneath the desk, back up in the upper corners of a room. Anywhere that there's dark, more than likely they're going to hide out in dark spots. You will see like a vapor or smoke or something of that nature. Then all I do is I use a program. It's a free online program called Pixlr, PXLR.
Yep.
And all I do is I just contrast and brightness and sharpness. That's it.
Nice.
That's all I adjust. I don't adjust anything else. If you can't see it adjusting those 3 things, you're not going to find them.
So Neil, what is your theory? Why do you think they hide out in the darkness?
Because they don't trust us. Because they don't trust anybody. They're in a realm of liars and thieves and and rapists and murderers, and there's no law, there's no justice, there's no rule of law, there's no rule of thumb. They live in colonies, in sectors and colonies. They group together to protect themselves, but they never travel alone. When someone says to you that, oh, there's only one spirit in me, that's not true. There's never one spirit. There's always more than one. And they're not always the ones that are hanging behind are not always as good as the one you're talking to.
Now, once they cross over, do you believe they can come back?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. They have to have permission. They can't do it. They can't just leave heaven and say, I'm going to go spend all day with my mom. They do get permission to do that. In most cases, it's to resolve something that person can't resolve in heaven. So there's a whole I can't think of the word I'm going to use. There's a whole reforming process when you go to heaven. When I create the light and they're going through, there's angels guiding you into the light. Okay. And those people whose lives are pretty well normal and they haven't really done anything really too bad, their family members are all waiting for them. Straightforward. Those who have issues, they all go to the left. And there's an intervention program based there on previous family members, angels, and all type of people that work with you to help you to understand your sins. And they go through that whole process, and it can take years and years and years. Life, you have to understand, eternal life our life is a drop in the bucket compared to eternal life.
Right.
So there's some that spent 300 years and they still can't understand why chopping off somebody's head's wrong. So but God forgives all. He forgives almost everybody. So you have to be pretty bad not to make it into heaven. But a lot of people have different reasons. They stay back because they want to leave their loved ones. They stay back because they feel like they've done something really bad and they shouldn't go to heaven.
Yeah.
Some people stay back because they don't know they're dead.
Right.
We've come across that. Yeah,
right.
We've come across that.
Right.
That's usually one of the questions we ask during an investigation. Are you aware that you're dead? Do you know that you're dead? You're not here with us. One of the things that our paranormal group does that I'm so proud of is that we always, in all our investigations, conduct ourselves with respect. We never try to antagonize the spirits, like some groups try to get evidence, try to piss them off so they'll do something. We never do that. Right. We're always respectful of the people that we're around,
And that's good because you never know the power of a spirit to reveal.
True.
Right. I try and focus a little bit on history too, Neil. If I'm able to do some research beforehand, if I'm able to pinpoint it to a handful of people, I'll focus on one or two, just little facts that you can pick up about somebody in an obituary, or from an interview. Hey, you knew this guy. Tell me a little bit about this guy's life. And you use these little tiny facts, and it blows my mind because that's where I get a lot. Either that I get responses, or when we're all sitting around at the end of the night bullshitting and laughing, and that extra voice will come through. It's
yeah.
If anything, it hits home what you say about it just being people. It just being people like us, because we'd respond to the same thing. If somebody walked in a room and started talking about my life, I'd be like, "Hey, yo, I know you. What's going on?" Yeah, I'd want to talk to them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you're always looking for the source of the energy. Where's that source of energy coming from? Who's the target? Who is the person in that family that is the most vulnerable that they would go after? A lot of times it's children. And the reason we go after children is because there's no quicker response to a child crying or screaming than a parent getting up to go find out why they're crying or screaming. So they use children because they know they can get the quickest response out of them. So in many cases they will use children to go. A lot of people ask me, well, what is the age of a child to go into heaven? It's the age of comprehension. When a child can actually comprehend what heaven or crossing over or whatever the spirit world is, then they will go there. But if you're too young or you're mentally ill, you automatically go to heaven. Automatically. So infants and children under the age of 1 or 2 automatically go to heaven unless the parents insist that they come with them, because it is the parents' right to take that child into the earthbound realm. If they refuse, they can refuse their child to go into heaven.
Wow.
Or go into the light.
Well, guys, this has been fascinating conversation. The three of us could probably talk for another 3 hours easily on this topic. So, Neil, if you would in the future want to come back on, we would gladly have you, because this was excellent. This was really a lot of fun.
Glad I could help and glad I could be here. And I love talking about stuff.
Thank you so much. And so do we.
Absolutely.
We can talk about ghosts all night long. We usually
all day.
Don't forget me
all day long.
When you need a slot, let me know.
Okay,
Absolutely.
awesome.
All right. Well,
to everyone out there, thank you so much for joining us. Next week, we have the fabulous Diane Lupo coming back on for some live card readings. So we're very excited about that. So take care, everyone. Have a great week, and I'll see you next week. Good night.
Bye.